Have you pressed it, Cookie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it okay?
Hello, welcome to Geeks Unleashed. This is episode 96. As usual, I'm Mark.
I'm Jasmine.
And this week we are joined by Cookie from Just a Little Podcast.
Hey guys, what's going on? Thank you very much for allowing me to be here.
Oh, you asked us to come on, so we couldn't turn you down.
I'm a Harry Potter fan. What can I say? I just love it.
I know, literally, like we've been getting so many messages from you since we started the series.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. One in particular, Cookie had an issue with my distaste for Dobby.
I don't know anybody who doesn't like the character. It's so hard.
I must be the only one, because one of my friends was listening and she texted me and she goes, "We've been friends for almost 20 years and I had no idea you didn't like Dobby." I was like, not a fan of Dobby. I have never been a Dobby fan.
Oh, you're missing
Sorry,
out on
not
life.
sorry.
That's hilarious.
So as usual, we have new episodes that come out pretty much every Wednesday, unless it's COVID or someone's broken some legs or someone just hasn't got internet. We're probably, so we moved from our Sunday release to dropping on Wednesdays. We thought we'd join in with everybody else and join in that Whiplash Wednesday. And so we are on everybody's podcast platform, and Jasmine will tell you all about that now.
Yep. And if you are watching us on YouTube, thank you so much. We would really appreciate it if you would like this video and subscribe to our channel. Be sure to hit that. What do you call it, Mark? The bell, right? It's
bell. The notification bell.
Yeah. Be sure to hit that bell so you know when we upload new videos to YouTube. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, thank you for that as well. We would also appreciate it if you would leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, or Spotify.
And this week's episode, we are continuing. So we are reviewing the 5th Harry Potter movie in our run to our 100th episode. And obviously Cookie has been a fan of our series so far.
Oh yeah.
And he asked if he could come on. So we were chatting about him coming on for this run at some point, and he was like, "No man, I want to get on here and chat." Anyway, so before we get into anything like that, I just thought I'd actually quickly just jump onto one piece of news which I saw, which I kind of thought was funny. Probably not really
tragic
funny.
A bit. It would probably be a better answer.
It's not funny because there's obviously people's jobs are obviously involved. But anyway, CW has been sold for $0 to a company called Nextar. Never heard of them before. I don't know if you two have. Anyway, they're going to acquire 75% of the CW for $0. However, Nextar will assume a significant portion of the CW's current losses, which could exceed over $100 million.
That is some faith. Like, not only did you acquire this like tanking company, but you also assume the loss for this company.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man.
I think there's rumors that they're potentially going to be changing the demographic of the CW, where the CW was kind of like teenage
20s. Girls and you, Mark.
Yeah, teenage girls and me.
Yeah, you are like the exception to the CW demographic.
To be honest, I'm not sure if I watch anything
anymore.
No, I haven't watched. I haven't watched the last 2 seasons. So I haven't watched the last 2 seasons of The Flash. Oh, I do watch Superman and Lois and that's actually in a way one of the main standout shows there. It's so different from the kind of Arrowverse shows, which actually I haven't watched the last couple of episodes, but they've apparently there was some controversy in the most recent episode where they made a reference which implied they are not part of the main Arrowverse, that they are on a separate world.
Interesting. But like Tyler Hoechlin has crossed over in all of the Crisis events. What do you mean you're not on the same world?
So what happened was, during Crisis, what we were led to believe was Supergirl's Earth and all the main Arrowverse characters were now on the same planet. Anyway, when Superman and Lois started, we were led to believe that also he was now part of this same Earth Prime. And it's really weird, in season 1, Diggle did make a guest appearance, so again that everybody thought that they're part of the Arrowverse, but what I read was that General Lane made a comment about the multiverse or something, and he said made a reference to other heroes out there in the multiverse. Anyway, that what the article I was reading was the creators of Superman and Lois did say basically the DC, the CW, they were all in agreement they wanted Superman and Lois to be its own separate thing.
They don't want it attached to that Arrowverse stigma.
Well, I'm assuming that it's probably because they know the Arrowverse is going to come to an end.
Yeah.
They did say if COVID hadn't happened, they probably would have kept it part of the Arrowverse because it was meant to be a Batwoman and Superman crossover. I don't know if you guys remember that. But anyway, so in some ways, it's probably, although I would have quite liked it to be part of the Arrowverse, probably long term, it probably is better that it isn't because the CW is cancelled like 90% of its shows in the last sort of 6 months, and the only 2 shows left I think are the Flash. Oh no, Stargirl is on also a separate Earth, so we've got Stargirl, which is a separate Earth. I think it's like Earth 2 or something. Don't know where Superman and Lois is. And then if the Flash will eventually come to an end, I assume probably next season, probably be its last season, maybe it's a good idea that the Arrowverse has come to an end. I mean, I know you've got that Gotham Knights show that they're doing, but let's be honest, that's probably not going to last too long. So I hope that whoever Nextar are, that they have got a really good strategy for turning the CW around.
I doubt it. I doubt
it. They must have a plan. You're not going to go and take a significant chunk of 100 million losses and
I think they're going to have to absorb it into something else. I don't know that CW can be revamped at this point. I think it's going to have to be absorbed and then morph into something completely different. Kind of like when UPN and WB merged to give us the CW in the first place.
Unless they just want the content, because everybody wants content.
Yeah, and then they'll just syndicate it somewhere else. And then the CW will disappear altogether.
Yeah, maybe they'll license it over all to Netflix for a period of time.
Yeah, who knows? Netflix needs all the help they can get right now.
Yeah, well, yeah. What are your thoughts, Cookie, on CW being sold for $0?
Well, I used to be a Berlanti fan. Greg Berlanti, the guy who's kind of producing everything that's going on in that verse. So the Berlanti verse, I was big on it. I fell off. I don't even know, Flash season 3 maybe. I watched Legends of Tomorrow. That was my favorite of all. But it just, I don't have TV, I don't have cable, so it's something that I don't actually go and hop on or try to go and access because there's no point. And then after I saw things kind of like you just fall into the wayside, it's just like, what's the point? There's so much going on. It's like a comic book. You have to read this, you have to read that for it all to culminate to one. And I just didn't have the opportunity to go and do all that, to go and watch everything. You kind of fall off. If you can watch one show and enjoy it and there's no connection to everything else, then it's like, okay, great. I can watch this. I don't have to worry about anything else. And I think they tried to do an Infinity Saga, which ultimately failed for them, I think. And because of that, you're selling off a company for $0 in hopes that the licenses you currently have will last until however long that they can possibly bring something out of it. But I don't think it's a smart decision, in my opinion. But
I mean, only time will tell. I agree with that, though. Like, I think when the Arrowverse was still small, when it was basically just Arrow and Flash, it was very easy to keep up with the crossover. But then we got Legends of Tomorrow and Batgirl and Supergirl. And it was just like, I can't keep up. I don't want to watch 5 shows. Like, I was fine watching 2 shows. I don't really want to watch 5 shows. It's like, you don't have to. But then, like, you miss out on half the fun because it's like they make those little inside jokes or
exactly.
It's like at that point, the cost of entry gets to be too high. And it feels like that's kind of the same thing that's happening like with the MCU. You've got 10 years of films and now you guys are trying to like put those 10 years in a box and say, okay, we're done with these 3 phases are finished. We're moving into phase 4. We're bringing in all these new characters. But like in another 3 years, are people going to be able to just jump into whatever the current MCU film is? Or are they going to have to go back and watch the first 26 to understand what's happening in film 27?
I do think that's why they do try to make every film like, so when you watch Doctor Strange 2, when Wanda showed up, she said, I can't remember the name of the town, Wanda Vision, the town, I forgot the town. She did say, is this about such whatever the town was that she took over? And he said, no, it's got nothing to do with that. And then they just moved on. So it was like, okay, if you've watched WandaVision, you get the reference.
Mhm.
But if you haven't watched it, it didn't change the film. Like, and I think I think you didn't need to watch WandaVision to enjoy that movie, or not enjoy it. As
Well, yeah, because you would know Scarlet Witch from the films
yeah,
before that. Yeah.
I think you couldn't go into Doctor Strange 2 having never watched any of the Marvel movies. But if you'd have skipped WandaVision, I think you would have been okay. Like, I reckon most people probably just watch the films, but not the TV series. And I think some people with WandaVision as well, particularly because it was quite a unique show in terms of how it handled its sitcom style at the beginning. I think a few people did drop off. But I didn't like the sitcom thing in the beginning, but I did like it once it paid off. So anyway, we've really gone on a separate thing here. But yeah, so CW, just to round this up, I want to see more from what this. I think it was clear something was coming. The fact that CW had such a huge cull of shows, I'm interested to see what is happening. And I can imagine what will happen is that HBO Max will become more the home for
Of DC stuff.
of DC stuff. Like, so I wonder if eventually. So I'm assuming that Netflix has probably bought some sort of license from Warner Brothers. Maybe they've got the Flash for a period of time, a bit like Netflix still had all the Defenders TV shows for a few years.
Well, but they license it overseas only, because that content, if people want to watch it here in the States, they have to rewatch it on the CW app.
Yeah, what I mean is, if the CW is completely sold off in the end, I wonder if Warner Brothers will have sold off a license or something for a period of time, and then eventually you'll see all the Flash and everything on HBO Max. I mean, it's going to finish, but what I mean is all the repeats or something like that, because obviously that's Warner Brothers, the Flash is. So I wonder Nextar will probably just own the other things like Vampire Diaries and One Tree Hill and all that old stuff. So but yeah, so that's probably the CW's own content.
Yeah. I mean, I think if the CW had actually put some effort into things, it seems like the past 10 years of CW TV shows outside of the Arrowverse, like the first few seasons of the Arrowverse shows were all pretty good, but then after that, everything just kind of went. But they kept making stuff that didn't need to be remade. We absolutely positively did not need 15 seasons of Supernatural. There was no freaking reason for 15 seasons of Supernatural. Have
you seen the trailer for the Winchesters?
No.
It is I'm terrible names. What's the guy called? Oh, Jensen Ackles.
Yeah.
He does the voiceover for most of the trailer.
Yeah.
How he's on the search to find the truth about his parents or whatever. And I was just like, oh, Jensen, honestly, just get another job. Just let it go.
Yeah.
No. CW must have been paying him a lot of money. I wonder how much of that 100 million losses went towards the Supernatural, honestly. But yeah, no, I think the CW really just became way too reliant on superhero shows, because the Flash and Arrow was so good, and they were so popular. They were like, right, what else can we put out? And I think that's the trouble, though. It went from having what do you call it, over too much over good quality.
Yeah, but also Berlanti left. He basically birthed this universe, right? Stayed for a couple of years, and then he left and moved on to different projects. So when Berlanti left, it was kind of like, yeah, you can really kind of see where the drop off happens, and he cared about his characters, and that's why the first few seasons of all of those shows are really good, because the character building is so great. And then after that, it's just let's throw this guy in, let's throw that guy in, and it's just what are we doing? None of this makes sense anymore. You're not keeping anyone's attention, and just renewing stuff that didn't need to be renewed. The CW brought this on themselves is basically kind of what it boils down to. You guys were just a mismanaged company.
Right, we'll stop about the CW, and we'll come back to it as and when. Gonna ask Cookie a couple questions, and so Cookie, obviously from Just a Little Podcast, he came on our Halloween episode. There's a couple other people on there. Nick and Verno were on there.
Yeah, we did all 3 of the Fear Streets on that one.
Yeah. So we didn't get a chance to ask Cookie any sort of personal details, like his bank details, his mother's maiden name, what's the name of his first animal, all that kind of stuff. Favorite school, Cookie,
all of those important security questions.
Cookie, if you can just let us know that.
Go ahead and put that in the chat for us. Thanks.
Anyway, serious question though. I want to know what your secret origin is. How did you find comics and your love of pop culture?
Oh yeah, for sure. Comics for me, I was a really troubled kid when it came to reading. So I sucked at reading. It was so difficult for me to kind of really grasp how to read. Phonics was tough. Here in the States, we have a thing called Hooked on Phonics, which I tried to go and use as a kid to read, and it was working, but it just wasn't getting to me as best as possible. So my parents ended up saying, "Why not try comics?" So I ended up getting a comic book, and I looked through it, and I just got gravitated towards it. It was a Batman comic book. The pictures came to life to me, and I used those pictures to kind of correlate with the words, and it helped me to read a lot better. And then I just started to dive more and more into comics, and I came to be a giant nerd that as I am today. When it comes to pop culture, my dad actually used to watch Star Trek a lot, and I think Star Trek was a big thing that I got into as a kid. And then Star Wars was my shining hope of light when it came to pop culture, and I dove headfirst into Star Wars. I absolutely love and adore Star Wars, including the sequels. I know a lot of people are very up in the air about it, but I love all Star Wars, so I'm not discriminating against anything when it comes to that. So pop culture for me has been since I was a kid. Comics has been since I was a kid. In high school, I fell off of comics because no kid reads comics in high school and has a girlfriend. So I was like, yeah, put that aside.
That was me. I used to read comics in school, and I didn't have a girlfriend.
So
I was
what's
like, Cookie, me and you would have been friends, clearly.
That's hilarious.
I think
put
it's
him
only
aside,
when
man. It was hilarious. I was like,
it's
yeah.
only, I think it's only when I discovered alcohol. So.
Alcohol comics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I eventually discovered comics again. It went full circle. So. Anyway, so we know you live in Florida, fairly close to Disney, and
Yeah.
I just wanted to know sort of what's the comic book community like in Florida?
Where I live, I have like 3 shops around me. I try not to bash anybody. I don't go to them.
Don't bash.
They aren't the best comic book shops in my opinion. They're very beautiful. They're amazing comic book shops, but they don't work with the people a lot. The prices are super high, so they're not made to sell. Like I will try to get a back issue comic book, just a filler book, and it's like $30, and I can go down the street an hour away, and I can get the same book for $5. And it's like, really? You guys are gonna have it for 30 versus the shops having it for 5. So stuff like that I don't really appreciate. I try not to support them too much. I do support the shops that are good to me. So one of them actually I follow on Instagram, Take the Time Collectibles. He has his own shop, and I go and hang out with him when I go down there. So as far as comic book shops, there's quite a bit. There where I am, there's probably about 3. If you go further south down to Miami, it's like almost on every other corner street. It's crazy. When you go up to Orlando, you're probably looking at 12 in the Orlando area. There's a lot of comic shops. Tampa, the same thing. So we do have a wide range of different pop culture areas. So it's nice.
That's cool.
Yeah. I was gonna say, do you because I know you go to some of the conventions as well. Do you often go every year or?
I do. So we have the 2 biggest ones are MegaCon, which is in Orlando, and then SuperCon, which is in Miami. So I do go to both of them. MegaCon is an absolute blast. It's around, I think 2019 had over 100,000 people attend. So it's
a lot of people.
It is massive. It is insane. It's scary too, especially with COVID going on. And in Florida, we don't believe, at least a lot of people don't believe that COVID exists. So
yes, we know your governor is just as bad as mine in Texas.
So you walk around perfectly fine, no mask, no nothing. It's craziness. So at SuperCon, going and attending that, it's definitely scary. Or SuperCon's gonna happen this weekend, I think. Yeah, SuperCon's happening this weekend, so it's gonna be a little scary, a little intimidating. MegaCon was massive, and that was like bumper to bumper traffic. You couldn't move without hitting somebody. It was insane. So it's gonna be scary, but it's gonna be good.
I saw at your last one you ran into quite a few people. Saw you run into other podcasters and YouTubers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is that sort of a range, or you just see people when you're walking around?
That one, because I've been so involved with like Instagram, comic books, and stuff of that nature, I've kind of grown to meet a lot of people in the community, and they'll go and say like, hey, like I've been in a couple of groups where they're all saying, hey, I'm going to be going, I'm not going to go, and it's like awesome. And then some of them you just run into, which is amazing, just being able to go and like you're digging for comics, and you look over, and you're like, oh, I know that guy, and then they look over you and they're like, I know you too. It's awesome to do that, and you just go comic book hunting with people. And then when you get like bigger names like Comics of Bueller, hung out with them. As far as Bueller, I've hung out with him in the past when he came down here. So it was really good to go and see him again. And it's almost like you're hanging out with comic book celebrities in a sense. So that's a cool concept. But there's a lot of.
Did you get in Bueller's van?
No, I did not. I passed by it, but I hung out
Yeah.
with him when he went live on his Whatnot at sale. So I've hung out with him before. I've had a drink with him before. I've had coffee with him. He's an awesome dude. Yeah,
I've never actually spoken to Bueller, but I have watched his YouTube channel, and I actually listened to the episode where you interviewed Bueller. And obviously, I've seen him on Robbie's channel a few times, but I've heard him talk about this van for about a year, and he's driving around America trying to visit every comic book shop in America. And yeah, it just sounds like an amazing idea. So it's pretty cool that I love the idea of it though. You go into a convention and seeing like Comic Con and Bueller and stuff like that. So just a couple of questions about the podcast. So how did Just a Little Podcast get started?
So I had a co-host originally, my friend Mark. We went to high school, we went to middle school together, and we've been good friends. And ever since, I know that he loves comics, he knew that I love comics. I knew it a little bit more than him. And one day we're just hanging out, and he's like, "Dude, we should do a podcast. Like, we're always talking, we should do a podcast." I'm like, "I've actually wanted to do one." So we set it up, and it was, I think, like the entire summer. We probably recorded like 4 episodes. And we listened to them. We're like, "God, this is awful. We're not doing a podcast. This is not happening." And then came August, we tried it again. We're like, "Let's just do it. Let's pull the Band-Aid off. Let's try it again." And it was god awful. But of course, every podcast doesn't start off perfect.
Please don't ever go back and listen to our first few episodes.
I think like our first 25, I would say don't listen to.
That's hilarious. Yeah, it's always bad, but we just kept pushing through. And I listened to a guy named Kevin Smith, who is a comic book enthusiast as well. He's a director, producer, done a lot of different things, and he has a couple podcasts where he was saying like, "Hey, if you have a voice, share it with other people. Maybe there's other people out there that might be interested in the same things you are." And I never really thought of that, and I was like, let me just try it out. And that's when we pulled the trigger. I want to say, I can't remember now, maybe 2018 or 2017 in August is when we pulled the trigger. And then he ended up having a couple of kids, so then life happened for him. And I just ended up taking on the reins of the podcast. We still talk on like a weekly basis, but the podcast is my baby now. So it's been fun.
Do you think he'll ever come back?
He's come back once, I think, for an episode, but his schedule is so hectic with his job and raising a little baby, like just born baby. And then his son as well is a handful because he's an energetic ball of energy. And it's wonderful. He's a gamer as well. He's such a wonderful kid. They both are wonderful kids. So I don't know if he would come back, to be honest. Maybe as like a cameo appearance, but as far as continuing on, I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay. And since doing the podcasting and YouTube, have you learned anything about yourself or just in general?
Yeah, I learned that I have a lisp that I didn't know I had. Because like I never used to listen when we first started the show, and it was just me and Ham. We didn't edit anything. We literally just recorded. After we're done recording, we hit save, and that was a podcast. There was nothing else to it.
Yeah.
And now that I'm involved with it and I'm doing a lot more editing, I'm like, holy God, my lisp is horrible. I'm like, where did this come from? And it's like I try to like talk particularly so I don't have a lisp, and it makes it worse. So I'm like, screw it. There's no point of going around it. But other than that, I would say like pop culture is so massive, and there's so many different things you can get involved in. And I kind of changed what my podcast was about, more of me exploring different things in pop culture. What do I like? What do I not like? And showcasing those things to other people. Because it's so hard to figure out, okay, I like comics, but do I like anime? Do I like these movies? What's going on in pop culture? What's happening with the world as a whole? And it's tough to keep a track of everything that's going on. So
one of the things I like about yours, I listen to yours when it comes out, is because it's quite yours is like more like of an overall news type show, and you cover a lot of things that I, to be honest, I would probably have to go through Google and wouldn't even know. So you cover a lot of like gaming news, and I wouldn't even know where to start. So whilst I don't game as heavily as some people do, like I probably pick up my PlayStation once a week, I thought it's quite interesting sometimes to hear information that you put out. So I actually listen to every episode you put out. So
thank you, I appreciate it.
No worries. And just 2 more questions, then we'll go and talk about Harry Potter. So so far the year is Did you guys hear that?
No.
Oh, okay. Some Spitfires just went over me.
Oh.
Do you know what Spitfires are?
Have to be airplanes if they're going over you.
They're what, sorry?
I said they have to be airplanes if they're going over you.
They are airplanes, yeah. Look them up. Spitfires are like they're kind of like for show airplanes.
Oh yeah, okay.
So anyway, obviously the year is long, Cookie. We're in July. Have you got anything that's so far stuck out for you? TV, movies, or comic books? Just in brief, anything like top reads. First thing that comes to your mind, or
top read,
or top something you've seen, something you want to shout out.
World's Finest. So DC, I'm trying to get more into DC Comics. So World's Finest is a Batman and Superman telling of them kind of doing their storyline, and it's been a good ride. I've been enjoying that quite a bit. They had the first issue came out with a book that stuck with me, and I just loved it. I was like, I have to have this cover. It is, I'm sure you probably guys have seen it, the meme where Batman is slapping Superman or vice versa, Superman slapping Batman. Yeah. So they did that, and it was a wonderful cover. I was like, I have to have this, and I picked it up. And I was like, I can't read this because I don't want to touch his comic book. So I had to buy a third comic book. I want to see it. My wife's not here. But I picked it up and read it, and it was enjoyable. And I was like, oh, this is a really good source. I've been reading that quite a bit. I've been liking that a lot. Star Wars has been a great ride for me. And I would probably say the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I won't get into spoilers, but there is a lot of mixed controversy on there. And I could just, Star Wars is like cereal. Everybody theoretically loves cereal, but you might not like Raisin Bran. You might not like Fruit of the Loops. And that's fine. If you don't like certain brands, that's cool. Not every cereal is going to be made for you, but enjoy the cereal that you have. And if you like it, cool, keep with it. If you don't like it, move on to another thing. And I think that's what Star Wars is about. It's generational, and it might not all be for everybody. And for me, Obi-Wan Kenobi was up my alley, and I loved every bit of it. I cried my eyes out. I cheered. I was happy. Everything was going on. I was excited for it. So favorite thing that came out, I'd probably say would be the Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
I'm only halfway through that at the minute. I'm going to try and finish it off this week. But
I love the Star Wars is like cereal analogy. That was I'm going to use that. Just thank you for that, Cookie.
No problem.
I know for a minute I had to get my mind around that. I was like, Fruit Loops? I was like, oh yeah. So no, because we don't have Fruit Loops over here. So okay. Last question, and then Jasmine, are you going to do the trivia?
Yep.
Okay, so last question actually fits nicely in. So, Cookie, you obviously wanted to come on here because of your love of Harry Potter. I'd love to know more about this love of Harry Potter. How did it start? What I know you said. Well, you tell everybody where you went the other week.
No problem. I'll start off with, I guess, where I went. So the other week, I ended up going and watching a live Harry Potter with a live orchestra. So it's this massive theater, 3 different levels, and there's an orchestra playing every single score for you right then and there. And it was a totally different experience. Like, I've watched Harry Potter when it came out on day 1. I was at the theater waiting in line back in the day when you used to wait in line to watch a movie. So it's a good time. And you walk in there and the conductor's like, hey, I want to let you guys know, this is not your ordinary watching of Harry Potter. I want you guys to cheer. I want you guys to clap for your favorite movies, parts, your favorite score parts, when a character comes on that you're happy about. And that's exactly what happened. People clapped for certain people that came on. When you had other characters that didn't like, they booed them. When you had the film school, like, everything was just so magical. And the energy around you, because you're surrounded by people who are Harry Potter fans, you're like, wow, this is my family.
These are my people.
Family. Yeah, exactly. So it was such a great experience to do that. And when it comes to Harry Potter, as a kid, my mom still is very religious. So she's like, no, Harry Potter's demonic, this and that. And I'm like, you know what? Because of you, Mom, I'm going to go and watch them. I couldn't read them as a kid. So I ended up watching them, and I fell in love with them. It was just, I didn't see myself as Harry Potter, but I did see myself as him, because it was like a kid who got picked on. He wore glasses. He didn't fit in very well. Granted, I didn't live underneath the stair cupboard, because no kid does that in the United States. I hope not.
Yeah.
But that type of aspect was just something that I really gravitated towards. And I've always loved magic. I've loved the possibility of your wildest dreams coming true through your imagination. And that was something that I really, really enjoyed and dug with. And as I got into being an adult, I was like, you know what? I don't live at home anymore. I can read these comic books. I can read everything that I want to read. Why can't I go and read these books? And sure enough, I ended up picking up the books. I read them. I did the audiobooks as well. And I've been in love with everything Harry Potter. And I don't necessarily just read the Harry Potter, like normal books. I actually go beyond that. I've read all the other books that are kind of, I guess, subplots or tie into different things. Fantastical Beasts, Beetle and the Bard, Quidditch Through the Ages, Harry Potter, A History, like all these different things I've read, and I love it. I'm so fascinated with it. I even got a Harry Potter tattoo. I cannot show you because I have pants on, but if I didn't have pants, I would show you.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Is this like PG rated tattoo?
It is.
Okay.
It's on my thigh, and it is the Deathly Hallows symbol, which I'm sure you guys will get into as we get to that movie. But the Deathly Hallows symbol with 9 3/4 above it.
Nice.
So it's kind of like imprinted on there. Yeah, it's a really cool concept. I love it. And I kind of got it because of the meaning behind the Deathly Hallows story. And then also 9 3/4. It's kind of funny, but I was born the same day that Harry Potter was born, July 31st.
Oh, wow.
He's 9 years older than me. And at the time I was 25. So I lived a quarter of a century. So everything kind of fit with the 9 being 9 years difference, the Deathly Hallows because I enjoyed it and it's Harry Potter. And then the 3/4 being that I've already lived a quarter of a century.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if you're that big of a fan, then I know you have taken the sorting quiz. So which house would you be sorted into?
I was Gryffindor. I wanted to make sure, so I did it like 6 times, and every single time I came back as Gryffindor.
Oh my gosh. How about you, Mark?
I haven't done it.
What?
Oh, you're missing out on life, buddy.
I am 100% Slytherin.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm not.
Send me the quiz. I'll do it. I'll give it a go. I've never done the quiz. Maybe that's something I'll tell you what.
Probably be a Hufflepuff.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Thanks. Send me the quiz, and by next episode, I'll let you all know what I am.
All right.
So, anyway, Jasmine, take it away.
All right. So, trivia. You guys, I get to play Quiz Master. I'm super excited. So, all of these questions are just about this film.
Okay.
They are very specific, but I think they're pretty easy. We'll see. I'm going to start you off with a really, really easy one. Where does Dumbledore's army train?
Oh, in that secret room.
What's it called?
Oh. Come on, Mark.
Oh, I can't remember.
Oh, God, you're terrible. Come on.
Oh, I know. Oh, crap.
You want me to do it?
Help him out, Cookie.
Go on then.
The Room of Requirement.
Yes, the Room of Requirement is where
I know Neville found it.
Okay, so there's this whole training montage in the Room of Requirement where Harry is trying to teach everybody how to call their Patronus. So, whose Patronus is an otter?
Oh, come on.
Oh, go on.
It's Hermione's.
Yes, it is Hermione. All right, how about the rabbit Patronus?
No, I can't remember. I can't believe I've forgotten this already.
I think I know this one too. Luna Lovegood.
Yes, that is correct. Right. Luna Lovegood. All right, last one. Who has the dog Patronus?
It's Ron.
Yes, it is. It's like it's not the same kind of like big dog like what Sirius's Patronus was, but it's a dog all the same.
I remember it tripping somebody. I can't remember who it was, but
Neville.
Okay, yeah.
Of course it's Neville. All right. So when Harry gets in trouble for mouthing off to Professor Umbridge, she says he's going to write lines. What line ends up getting carved into Harry's hand?
Mark.
Oh, I must not tell lies.
Yes, that is correct. Finally, Mark's on the board.
I know. I wasn't doing very well.
All right, so this one was later in the film. It's a flashback sequence, but James Potter was kind of like a bully to Severus Snape. He gives Snape a nickname. What is that nickname that James calls Snape when they are in school together?
Crap.
That one I don't think I know. Wow.
No cheating, Mark.
No, I wasn't cheating. I just saw my bottle opener. So anyway, no, I don't remember.
Snibbolus. Instead of Severus, he calls him Snibbolus. Snibbolus Snape. All right, who is Grupp?
Who?
Groppy. Who's Groppy?
Oh, is that the little thingy? Dobby.
The other opposite direction.
He is not little at all.
Oh, I can't remember.
Haggard's brother.
Yes, half brother. His half brother. Yes. All right, now we're gonna get silly. Well, actually, no. Since we're talking about elves, what is the name of the black family elf?
Oh, it's in my. I can see it too. Hold on. Give me a second on this one. I can see it happening. Creature.
Yes,
I don't know
Creature.
why it took me forever. I'm sorry. Yes.
That crotchety old elf. Yes, his name is Creature. All right. What animal actually pulls the carriages that not everyone can see?
Oh. I can see this one too in my head.
Oh no, I can see it as well. Oh, because Luna.
Yeah,
was
Luna
sitting in the
explains it
back,
to Harry
yeah.
what they are. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, I can't remember though, but I do remember the whole scene.
Yeah. So basically, up until this point, this is the fifth film, but up until this point, whenever the kids get off the train, they go on carriages that pull themselves. Well, it turns out the carriages don't pull themselves. They are pulled by thestrals.
That's it.
And thestrals can only be seen by people who have seen death, which is why most of the kids at Hogwarts think that these carriages pull themselves. All right.
Yeah.
So speaking of creatures that no one knows, what creatures keep taking all of Luna's possessions?
I know this one.
Gone.
Nargles.
Nargles, but nobody knows what the hell a Nargle is. Okay, last two. Silly questions. Give me Umbridge's middle name.
Oh.
It's not her first name is Dolores.
Yes?
Yeah.
Dolores M. Umbridge.
Wrong.
Not M. Okay.
No.
Woo. I don't know it. That's
Jane.
disappointing. Ah. Okay.
Dolores Jane Umbridge. All right. So this one, you got 3 chances. Dumbledore has a very, very long name. Give me one of his middle names. He has 3 middle names.
Steve.
Not Steve.
John.
No. You're close.
You are close. You are
You're
close
very
to
close.
one.
Roger.
No. I mean, keep going. Maybe you'll get there.
Jonathan.
No. It's very common though. You're close.
Barry.
Oh, you're
getting
very,
closer.
very close to Barry. Very close to Barry.
Bartholomew.
No.
I don't know. I don't know.
Brian.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Brian. Oh. His name is Dumbledore Brian.
No,
Oh.
so his full name is Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore.
Yeah, sorry.
Which he introduces himself with his full name at Harry's trial in the
Oh.
beginning of this film.
Oh, I forgot.
And he makes a very dramatic pause before he says Brian also.
Oh.
Anyway, so yeah, Brian. There you go. So Mark,
There you
you got
go.
you got a lot of work to do, man. You
I
didn't do
know,
well
I
on this
know.
at all.
I know. I'm not very good at this. I never confess to be the Harry Potter expert. I know I enjoy the films. Like, I've never read the books, but I should one day. I might have to stop reading these things behind me and concentrate on books for a while. I don't get much time to read as it is. Anyway, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. It's directed by David Yates, who's new.
He's new, but he stays with it till the end.
Yeah. And screenplay Steve Kloves, based on Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix by J.K. Rowling.
And it stars again all of the same people, some new faces that we have this time. Not too many new faces. We've got Natalia Tena. She is Nymphadora, but please don't call her Nymphadora. She prefers to go by Tonks.
Yep.
And actually, I don't see some of the new names. Oh, there we go. Katie Young as Cho. Poor Cho. She really got like the crap end of the stick in this one.
Oh, yeah.
That was very unfair what happened to Cho. Imelda Staunton is who plays Dolores Umbridge, which, in my opinion, she didn't get her due in this film, but eventually we still got 3 more films technically.
Yeah.
And then we have George Harris who plays Shacklebolt. So lots of new faces.
Yeah. Budget was I couldn't find the exact amount, but it said somewhere between 150 to 200 million. Previous budget was 150 million US dollars. Worldwide box office, it made slightly more than last time, so it made 942.2 million, and previously made 196 million. So there's not much difference. Budget
800.
and
Yeah, this one was closest to the first film because the first
Mhm.
film made over $1 billion, and this one was the next film to come close to that.
Cookie, normally at this point, me and Jasmine do a summary of the movie, but as you're here and you know far more than either of us, do you want to give us a brief summary of the movie?
Sure. We have the trio right now where we have Harry Potter, who's trying to figure out things of life, and he's of course going to be going back to Hogwarts. But as he does go back to Hogwarts, he ends up kind of figuring out there's a certain thing that's happening right now with he who must not be named is coming back more and more, and he's trying to prepare everybody for what's happening, and people are discouraged by the fact that he's coming back and they don't want to believe in that. So there is a thing called the Order of the Phoenix that gets involved, and they kind of reassemble to, I guess, to prepare for battle against he who must not be named in his army when they do return at full fledged. And it's like him trying to discover, I guess, a little bit past puberty, but now he's trying to discover that, hey, I'm a man. I want to be a part of this. I don't want to just be on the sidelines. I want to be involved. And he's trying to go and equip people at school to do the same.
All
Yep,
right.
That's probably a better summary than I would have given. So,
hopefully I did good.
yeah. Mine's a little bit more jokey. Jasmine's is a bit more serious. Anyway, so just overall thoughts on the movie. Just start with you, Cookie. Actually, what are your thoughts on film number 5?
I love this film. I think that as a kid, I didn't appreciate it as much as I do now as an adult, because I can enjoy films for what they are and how much work it takes to be an actor. And all these actors have great beats. Like whether you're a villain or anti-hero or a hero, you have these roles to play, and they play them and they execute them, I think, very well in this movie. It does not get anywhere near the books. It's definitely a big venture from the books, but it is enjoyable to say the least. And I really enjoy this film. It becomes one of my favorite films from time to time. It's either this one or the third film, which is The Prisoner of Azkaban, or just a toss up between the two.
Yeah, Jasmine loves The Prisoner of Azkaban.
Yep.
Anyway, Jasmine, what about your overall thoughts on this movie?
I think this one is probably my second favorite, just like Cookie, behind Prisoner of Azkaban. This film is the film to me that really pushes everything into that point of no return. Like, this is the film where it's like, okay, shit gets real. Like, we are at the point now where we are putting together secret societies. We are organizing ourselves because we don't have the adults to do it for us. We actually get more on-screen deaths in this one. And I really think it just kind of, it got serious before. Like, you know, Cedric died in the previous film, but it was hard to be attached to Cedric Diggory because, like, he was just some other kid that Harry was competing against in the Triwizard Tournament. But to lose Sirius in this film, and to know that that's going to have a really big impact on Harry, it just feels like there's so much more to be emotionally invested in with this film. So it's really easy to get sucked in. Also, the opening sequence in this film with Harry and Dudley is probably my favorite opening sequence of the entire Harry Potter series. I love the cold open. I love how we get all of these different shots of London and like Muggles and mixing the magic with the Muggles. I really, really loved the cinematography of it. The overhead shot when they're running away, the way that the Dementors come through that long tunnel, just like the artistry behind the opening sequence is really kind of impressive to me. But also, like, it goes to set the tone for the rest of the film. Like when Mad Eye comes to pick up Harry, and then we get a whole nother sequence where they're on their brooms and they're flying through London, and we fly by Parliament, and, you know, we're like flying over the Thames. Like, I just thought it was so cool how they integrated the actual city of London into this one so much more than they have before.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie as well. I think from sort of film 3 onwards, film 1 and 2 are okay. Like I like 1. I don't love 2 so much, but 3 onwards, I think because they start to become darker, more adult. I mean, I know the kids obviously are still kids, but I think we both agreed, me and Jasmine last week, that the 4th one was definitely carried by the adults of the movie. This one, I would say, was actually a lot more evenly split.
Yeah.
And then again, that comes to obviously the children are growing up now, their acting skills are developing. We haven't got so much Harry with his fake crying in the woods and stuff like that. Like it's just, unfortunately, it wasn't, he's only getting better, isn't he? So Daniel Radcliffe's obviously, I'm sure his acting experience now compared to back then is even stronger. So obviously, unlike most people, most actors and actresses, you don't get to see them growing up throughout a franchise, like, because these films came out almost yearly. But anyway, so this film, I love, there's a lot about it I love like that cold open actually really threw me off with what's his name, Dudley picking on him. I actually was kind of shocked because we hadn't seen Dudley in the last movie,
right? Because there were no Dursleys in the last one,
right? So it kind of took me back a second. I was like, is that Dudley? I was like, really took me back because it was obviously a huge jump from, he's obviously grown up a lot because he's skipped a film, and he's much bigger. Like, and I was a bit like, I had to quickly look it up, and then as I went to look it up, Harry then called him Dudley. I was like, oh, it is him. I really took. It's been a while since I've watched these films, so it kind of threw me off. But yeah, no, I love the cinematography. I love the creepiness and just how it's directed, and I love the visuals of it and everything. Just that tunnel scene. I knew what was coming with the Dementors, but I was like, man, I would not want to be in that tunnel.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tunnels like that in London. You wouldn't want to be at that time of night anyway. So without adding in Dementors. But no, I love the whole cinematography style of it. But I love the whole concept, actually. It's quite well thought out that Harry starts to kind of build his own army. Because obviously he who shall not be named is building his own army. And it's great to see the beginnings of it. So this again is like a bridging film to get us towards that final movie, but it's a good bridging film because it's got its own storyline as well. So
but it also to that point, it definitely shows the parallels between Harry and Voldemort. Like, yes, they are literally on parallel tracks.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, it's good versus evil, isn't it? It's the tale as old as time, isn't it?
Right. So they're two sides of the same coin. You know? Yeah.
And also that you find out that they are linked as well in this movie.
Oh yeah. Now that was because I didn't finish the books before the films came out. Like that was one of the connections that really shocked me. But that's in the 7th book, the Horcruxes and all that stuff. But yeah, that one was surprising to me because like I didn't quite catch it before. Like you knew that there was some kind of connection because that's he could see through Voldemort's eyes, but like the way that they actually like make that an actual connection at the very end, I was like, damn, that's good.
So Cookie, we normally go around the room here and sort of talk about who our favorite character is. Do you have a favorite character from this movie?
I'd probably say Sirius Black, I think, is my favorite character, and the reason being is he's trying so much to make up for lost time that he's willing to in the last film go into fire, like be a wood log, and showcases like his love and affection for Harry to check up on him. And here when we see him in Grimmauld Place and you see Harry looking back at his uncle or his godfather, and he looks back at him and you just see this like genuine smile, like that's he literally almost says out loud, "That's my son," by that simple smile, like that's my son, that's my boy, and I cannot wait to live with him and show him all the love that he's missed out on. And it's a wonderful display by Gary Oldman. He's just a hell of an actor. And in this film, you can't help but love his character and adore who he is to Harry and how much of an impact that he's had on his life for 2 years, maybe, I think now at this point. And it's crazy that when you see him die, it tears apart Harry, and that's like another giant wound into Harry's life that's just now missing. And the other films that proceed after this definitely are affected because of this moment here.
I definitely agree, Gary. I love Gary Oldman, especially in The Fifth Element.
Oh man,
epic.
Yes,
The Fifth Element's probably his best role. Other than this, obviously.
I mean, he's fantastic at the fifth element, but like, I got to give it to the professional. Like, if we're gonna go,
professional, yes,
oh man, professional.
that's great.
Which you guys call it Leon.
Oh, I was about to
Yes.
say the professional. I was like, what? Oh yeah, Leon. Yeah. I was like, what is the professional? Yeah, Leon. I know what Leon is. Man, I haven't watched that film for a long time.
It holds
yeah.
up. It still holds up.
Yeah, it's also one of Natalie Portman's best.
Yeah. So she's Anyway, all right. Favorite character, Jasmine.
Oh, my girl Luna Lovegood. I love that she is so quirky and so weird, but she is so like okay with herself that she doesn't even flinch when other people make fun of her to her face. Like it's like a non-starter for her. I love how she just goes about everything. Like when she's explaining to Harry when she's feeding the Thestrals, and she's like, yeah, people can only see these things when they've seen death. And she's like, yeah, my mom died when I was 9. She was like this crazy witch. She liked to experiment with all kinds of shit. And then like the experiment went wrong and she died. So, but I still have my dad. So it's all good. And you're just like, what is wrong with this girl? Like she's literally just sitting here talking about how she saw her mom die from experimenting with spells. And she's like, but I still have one parent. So it's all good.
I do love how she has one tone of voice.
Like, yes. Oh, I love the nonchalance of Luna Lovegood, but she's also smart and she cares and like she's willing to put skin in the game. And it comes into play later on as well. But like as far as for an introduction, I think she gets one of the best introductions of all of like the secondary characters that we meet throughout this entire series. So I really, really love Luna. In fact, when I went to see the 7th film, the first of the 7, I cosplayed as Luna Lovegood at the theater. So
awesome.
I love Luna Lovegood.
That's
played by Ivana Lynch, by the way. So
I think my favorite character from this movie, to be honest, is Dumbledore.
Brian.
Brian. It's Brian from his movies. Do you know what? Dumbledore kicks ass. Like,
yeah.
I love that he loves Harry, and also I thought it was really cool that he had that I don't know her name, the elderly lady sort of watching over Harry.
Mrs. Finch.
Miss Finch.
Yeah. I love that, like when she showed up and obviously said, about magic, whatever, keep your wand out, but actually Dumbledore had already set that up in motion because he obviously was thinking about he shall not be named. And but I just love how like Dumbledore, when Dolores was kicking out
Trelawney.
And sorry, my mic just came unplugged then. Anyway, so he just steps out and was like, he knows the rules, so he was like, well, yeah, okay, you can expel my teachers, but you can't kick them off the ground. That's still my but he's just like voice, like booming voice. He just comes across with such like authority, but like kind of like firm but fair. And I just love how, and immediately like when Harry Potter's army gets uncovered, he takes the blame for it. And I just think he's just a real sort of parental father figure, not just to Harry, but like all the children. It's definitely like, these are my children, I'm going to look after them all. And just, and even the teachers, like this is his world and he's here to protect them all. And I just love that. Like, it was great, like throughout this film. He does it in every movie, but it just really stood out to me in this film.
Yeah, I really love how he's like, oh, wait, you think that I'm going to go quietly? Bitch, please. No, hell no. Y'all can take my headmastership away, but like, I am not going to Azkaban.
Yeah, no, I love that scene.
You have to admit, too, he does have style.
Yeah.
He does have some style. In the books, it's a little bit different in that scene. He actually pauses time or slows down time dramatically, and he's able to talk to everybody. He lets them know, like, hey, I'm going to hit you, so you're going to have to fall and pretend like you had no idea what was going on, Harry. And he explains to Harry a lot of what's happened. He's like, I'm going to go away, but I'll be back, type of thing.
Yeah.
And it's just so cool. Yeah, it's a really, really cool moment in the book that I enjoyed having. I was like, I hope that it would happen in the movie, but it didn't take place. So
yeah.
No, I do love that scene. He's like, oh, you thought I was going to go quietly. It's a bit like, it's like, bitch, please.
Yeah, exactly. Dumbledore has some sass. He's like, you got me fucked up if you think I'm about to just let you take me to Azkaban. Like, that ain't happening.
Yeah, no, he's good. I love him in this movie. I mean, he's good in all movies, but good in all of the movies.
I think this film is the one where you really appreciate Michael Gambon as Dumbledore. Like when you're like, this was an excellent casting choice. Like
yes,
having someone that was much younger than Richard Harris actually play this role. Like now you have the opportunity to play it like a sassier, younger, snappier kind of wizard, even though he's supposed to be, you know, really old. But man, this one was the one where it was like, yep, this is my Dumbledore now.
By the way, Jasmine, you said that you cosplayed as Luna Lovegood.
Yeah.
When that last movie came out, I got lucky because I went down the midnight premiere, and there was a news crew that came in, and everybody's like all dressed up, and the news crew's like, "Hey guys, on the count of 3, I want you guys to all yell Harry Potter." And I was so excited for this movie that it was like 1, 2, and I stood up on 2 and I yelled Harry Potter. No one else yelled Harry Potter. I'm like, Harry Potter. And then it's just dead silence. And I look around, I'm like, oh crap, I went on 2. I didn't go on 3. So I'm the only one yelling Harry Potter on the news, and everybody else is silent around me.
Oh no.
Find us that news clip, please.
I've looked so hard for it.
Oh my God. That is awesome.
It was great.
That'd be hilarious. So, Cookie, in every one of these films, there are magical artifacts or items. Is there anything that you love from this movie?
I do love the prophecy or the foretelling of all these prophecies in this room. But I would say the Room of Requirement is probably my favorite piece of magical moment. The fact that, if you needed a bathroom, it will turn into a bathroom for you is such a great concept. But in this fact that they needed a room to train, it was able for them to go and train in. And I love that room. It's such a cool moment. So yeah, I'll probably say the Room Requirement.
What about you, Jasmine?
I don't really have an item, but like the Thestrals were my favorite magical thing in this film. Just because, again, we've had 4 films where we see these same carriages and you never, ever, ever think anything other than magic is making these things move. And then in this film, Harry turns around and is like face to face with this hideous creature. And you're just like, hold up, that thing has been pulling these carriages all this time. And so like in that moment, you really feel like you are Harry because you are discovering this for the first time, just like he is. But I just love the way that they throw that in this late in the game. So the Thestrals are probably my favorite like magical thing this time around.
I had something else written down, but it's something just keeps jumping out at me. Was probably one of the most obvious is the magic brooms, you know, the flying brooms. Just like only mainly because I love that whole thing at the beginning where Mad-Eye Moody and all of the witches, Harry and what's her name? I've forgotten it now. Don't call her it.
Tonks.
Tonks, Nymphadora. I love that whole bit. But anyway, I love that they all come out. They're all standing there. They're all standing by the street. And I thought, again, like are they going to wait for that bus to come?
Yeah, the night bus. Yeah,
the night bus. I thought, they're waiting for the night bus. And suddenly they all stick their hands out, and the brooms come out, and they just shoot up into the sky. And I did you ever see that? Oh crap! I forgot the name of it. That Studio Ghibli movie where the witch goes.
Oh, Kiki's Delivery Service.
Yeah, Kiki's Delivery Service. It made me think of that as well. Like, and I just thought, how cool would brooms be if they were real? Like, I mean, we wouldn't have to worry about petrol prices or having cars in general. Like, you'd only have cars if you had to like move some luggage. Like, if I just had to nip to town on my broom. Like, that's probably the best thing in this movie is the brooms. Now, I know they have to worry about muggles seeing them, but they clearly didn't give a crap at that particular point.
Well, it was dark, you know, so it's all good.
Yeah, they just flew up high above the clouds.
Yeah, it's fine.
And but I just thought, like, I would love it if there were brooms. I mean, I know brooms being real are never going to happen. It's not even something that somebody can invent. Like, I just thought, I love that particular scene, but I just even in earlier films like Quidditch and stuff like that, but it was on the sort of first scenes where you just see it outside of the school and it's them just sort of just flying off, and obviously they're going to go see Sirius and all the Weasleys and everything. But I just love that they're just using it like practically just to go from A to B. I was like, how cool is that? Most people would just be going outside their house, jumping in their car, getting on their motorbike. Nope, let's get on the brooms.
Yeah.
We're gonna go and catch up with the Weasleys. Imagine if you could just do that normally, like Ron walks out. I'm just gonna go see Harry, Mum. Okay, cool. Like jumps on the broom. Like like, there he goes. Like, oh, that would be just amazing. Like, anyway, that is my favorite magical item. Like, I know it's in every movie, but it was just that particular scene caught me, and I was like, I love that. So.
Did you guys ever think about when Ron rides on a Thestral, he's riding on nothing? Because he can't see it.
I wanted someone to make a comment about it, like when that scene happened, and no one did. And I was like, so we're just cool with 4 of the 7, like, or 5 of the 7, like, I'm riding on an invisible thing and I'm cool with it. Like, that was so a missed
scary.
opportunity.
That is so scary.
I suppose he's glad it wasn't a spider.
Yeah.
Okay, Cookie, what are your thoughts on the structure of the movie? Do you have, and like including in that, do you have a favorite scene? What are your thoughts on the writing? Is there anything you would have cut, changed? Any, just a bunch of things there for you to think about.
I did love the film throughout. I do think that there are certain things could have been shortened up a little bit. One being when they are in the room with all the prophecies, that was really long. Now that I see it as an adult, if they took off, I don't know, it felt like a 20-minute clip in that moment. If they took off 10 minutes, they could have used that 10 minutes to go and enhance something else or do something of that nature, wherever it might be. But I thought that overall, the structure, the pacing was excellent. I loved it from beginning to end. I do like the intro of how everything starts out. I don't really have any gripes besides that point. It's just, it is a little bit longer than I would have wanted, but I love Harry Potter, so I will take 10 minutes extra if I can. So
I know what you mean. Like, I do like that. Yeah. Anyway, go on, Jasmine.
So with the writing, I think this film is so much better dialogue wise than the previous film. Like, everything is so much tighter, so much snappier. I feel like they didn't waste lines in this one. Every time someone speaks, they're saying something that is pushing everything forward. It doesn't feel like this movie has any fluff to me at all. Like, everything serves a purpose. And yeah, kind of like the way that we said that the second film is a bridge to the rest of the series. And Mark said it earlier, like, this film is a bridge to the back half of the series. It's a necessary film. We get a major death in Sirius, but like it's not like big major events happen, except for the very, very end, where finally everybody else sees Voldemort and they're like, oh shit, Harry was telling the truth. Like, I wanted to jump through the screen and strangle Cornelius Fudge. Like, that son of a bitch. Anyway, so I thought the writing was really tight in this, and I thought we got a really great look into the pressure that Harry has on him. Like, we've always known that he had the pressure because he's the boy who lived, but like, to see it this time, to have the newspapers calling you a liar, to have your friends, like when Seamus was like, bitch, my mom said you lying, so you lying. And Harry was just like, the fuck, dude? Like, what do you mean? How can you say that to me when we've been friends all this time? So like, the media is against you, your own friends are turning against you, but you still have the wherewithal to know, like, if this is going to be a fight, like, you can't do this alone. And even though you don't want to teach these kids how to fight, like, if you don't do it, no one else will. Like, you are literally having to put yourself aside and like build up these other kids to be like, yo, look, I have seen some shit and I really don't want you guys to have to go through what I went through. But like, if we don't do something, we are not even going to have a fighting chance. So like, him stepping up to the plate and accepting the responsibility and taking on the role of being like their mentor, their teacher. I thought that was really, really great. And as far as world building, it's nice to see the kids take charge. Like, they're the ones that have said, the adults are not helping us in the way that we need to be helped. So if they're not going to help us, we're going to do it ourselves. So I think that this one was the one where everyone kind of realizes we're not going to get the help that we need unless we pull it from within. And I think that that is a really important lesson, not just for kids, but like for everybody to have. It's like, whatever you need to succeed, you have it within you, but you have to bring it to the surface. So this film just feels so much more emotional than all the other ones so far. And as far as favorite scenes, my favorite scene is very silly, but it is my favorite trope in all of media is people out of place in a certain time. And my favorite scene is close to the beginning when Mr. Weasley is taking Harry to the Ministry of Magic, but they have to go through London to get to the visitor entrance.
Yeah.
And watching him on the escalator, and he has no idea how to ride an escalator. He looks so uncomfortable and so miserable. Then he can't go through the turnstile because he doesn't have, a subway card. And it's just like watching him be so awkward in the Muggle world is so funny. And I loved it so much because it is literally a 3-minute scene, but like it to me, it like encapsulates everything that is Arthur Weasley. Like it is just so perfect in 3 minutes, and it is my favorite scene in the film, just him being awkward like trying to get to the visitor entrance of the ministry.
I love all that part in London, like just like not familiar with how, I just don't believe that he wouldn't know. Like,
I mean, he like it's hard to believe because he is obsessed with Muggles, but like it makes sense because he would not be walking through London to get to the ministry. Like he takes the flu. That's how he usually gets to work. So and it just, but like Harry is just so like, oh, I've got to take my drunk uncle and make sure he makes it onto the subway train, right? Like he's just so over it. Like when he has a subway card and he's like, oh my God, you put the card on the thing, like, okay, now go. And it's just like, yes.
Anyway, to break down a little bit, I definitely think the script was a lot stronger. I think the style, the structure, and the pacing actually were a lot more. They were spot on this time. I felt it was a little bit messy last movie, but this one was a lot better. I found that actually I liked how they set things up. I think actually, again, I've said this before about J.K. Rowling. She does well to set things up. I think there's little things that are sewn in very small, like Harry using magic in the Muggle world, and then the repercussions of that, and even seeing Vernon, the uncle, what's his name, Vernon? Yeah. How happy he is that Harry's been expelled. Like justice, like, and like I love that actually because they don't normally get too involved in whatever Harry's doing, and it's like, yes, you've been expelled, and like, but I just love like
that. Excited about that,
like he does because he doesn't like Harry, like, and like, but I love how that then sets off to them having to obviously go to the magic ministry place, whatever it's called, and obviously then we get to meet kind of like the villain for the movie, obviously in Umbridge, and like just her sort of tone and everything like that. You kind of think initially, kind of dismiss her, thinking she's just someone in the sort of audience or whatever, and then obviously we get to the school and then find out she's actually kind of setting things up. I love how J.K. Rowling sewed those little bits in. Obviously I know she didn't write the script for the actual movie, but it's from her book, but I love how she sets all that up, so I think it's done really well. And you just don't really expect to have a particularly evil teacher in terms of the
someone who actually tortures children.
Like literally just doesn't care. Like she's like, even makes a reference later on going, what they don't know won't hurt them or whatever. And obviously we find out more about her in later movies, but I gotta say, I gotta love how she gets carried off by
by the centaurs.
And I just love all of that. It's great. But I just think it's done really well. Like my favorite scene was one we've actually already talked about, where Dumbledore's like, look, I'm not going to Azkaban. Like, I'm off. I'm not going easily. Like, but I think Dumbledore really stood out to me in this film. But I really loved as well, actually, how the kids really came into their own. I think you could see the transition between children to early adults in this film and creating their own army. For me, that was just really enjoyable to see them taking ownership for once, rather than them being kind of led through the film. Actually, this was probably the first film where they were starting to lead the film or the plot. So yeah, for me overall, I wouldn't cut anything. Like you actually, Cookie said, I love these films and I'm not too bothered if it was 2 hours. Like, these are kind of like event films really, so when we get event films we can't really question, I think, if they're too long or too short, because
I think we can if they're trying to be like 4 hours, Zack Snyder.
Okay, that was like a one-off. Like that's only because they realised the WB realised that they'd really messed up by letting Joss finish that off.
Yeah.
They should have said to Zach, "Come back when you finish grieving,
Mhm.
and you can finish the film." And I said it even in when I reviewed that. I think if it had been done without Joss's influence, we never would have had a 4-hour film in the first place. But
Yeah.
anyway, come back to Harry Potter. I think it was done well. There's nothing I particularly would have cut. I love the style and everything. I just think it's great. I love this movie. So, Cookie, we kind of moved our ratings to 10 out of 10 for these movies, and I just wondered, how would you rate it out of 10?
9.6 and a quarter.
Wow, it's high.
It is high. It is very, I think the main reason why is because we have so many different characters that each get their own push in their own plot, and their devices of how they come to be and their character development within each character is wonderful, I think. And this is a quintessential moment in the storyline where the Muggle world has a heavily involvement into the magical world, and the magical world realizes that, hey, Voldemort's back. We have to do something. He's actually here. We can't stop hiding anymore. We can't stop pretending. So it's like all these other films before it didn't have that element of Voldemort, but now that we have it here, it's like everybody's like on oh crap moment. And what are we gonna do? How are we gonna go and continue on with life?
Yeah.
How would you rate it, Jasmine?
Honestly, I am upping my rating. I was originally gonna go 8. I'm gonna go 9 on this one because I know how shitty 6 is. But like this film, I think watching it this time felt a lot different than the previous times I've watched it. And now I can really see how this 5th film is the linchpin to the successful ending of the entire series. And as that kind of like key turning point, it's just done so well. Like it's a lot less about like big explosions and big action sequences and more about like actual dialogue and actual like close hand-to-hand kind of combat to get you to the point where you realize like, oh shit, this is getting real. So yeah, I'm gonna go 9 on this one, which is my highest rating so far of the series.
I'm gonna go 8 out of 10 on this. So I enjoyed it. There's nothing wrong with an 8 out of 10. I think it's a good movie. And I do agree with you, Jasmine. You can see now the payoff for the training later on.
Yeah.
And actually, without this film, Voldemort probably would have won. So,
yeah. Without this film, 7 doesn't feel as impactful.
I think now, having going through this as we're doing it every week, I kind of see the real benefit of this movie. I really enjoyed it. Got no complaints on it, but I'm giving it 8 out of 10. So
not bad.
Yeah. So for our next episode, we're going to be continuing our run towards our epic 100th episode, which Cookie's already passed that, and we're going to be counting down the milestone, and we're going to be reviewing obviously the 6th Harry Potter movie next week. Cookie, where can people find you online?
Yeah, on social media, Just Little Podcast on Instagram, Just Podcasting on Twitter. I'm on YouTube as well, Just Little Podcast. I try to put out a video once a month, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's about it for me on social medias.
And you can find Geeks Unleashed everywhere. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Obviously, we're on YouTube, and you can find we're just Geeks Unleashed.
Yep. And you can get this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, Google, Podbean, Apple, Spotify. We are everywhere. So please give us a 5-star review and tell your geeky friends.
And thanks very much for listening. Cookie, thanks for joining us again.
Yeah, thanks, Cookie.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
And we'll see you next week.
All right. Good journey.
Good journey indeed.